A suspected child abuse report, also known as a SCAR, is filed by a mandated reporter or other concerned community member when there is a suspicion of child abuse or neglect. Have you ever wondered what happens after a SCAR has been filed? Maybe you wondered if your report wasn't important because nothing seemed to change. I'd like to tell you about what happens after you file a SCAR in SLO County. When you report suspected child abuse or neglect, this generates a referral. Every referral is evaluated to determine what response type will be made, if any. Referrals may be evaluated out, meaning child welfare services will not initiate a response if the referral is duplicative and contains no new information. It doesn't meet the legal criteria for being considered abuse or neglect. It is historical information with no current indication of abuse or neglect. Or CWS doesn't have jurisdiction to investigate. If CWS doesn't have jurisdiction, they will cross-report to the appropriate jurisdiction for follow-up, such as contacting law enforcement or the state licensing authority as appropriate. If a referral is evaluated out, does that mean it was a bad referral? No. All referrals are evaluated and documented. Additionally, community services may be offered even if child welfare does not investigate the referral. What happens if a response is needed? Referrals that meet the criteria for a response are assigned via 3 different pathways. Path 1 is a community response, which is a referral to a community partner. We'll talk more about that in a minute. Path 2 is a CWS response within 3, 5, or 10 days, depending on risk. Path 3 is an immediate CWS response, requiring an in-person attempt at contact within 24 hours. A Path 1 community response occurs for some referrals when it is determined that the child is at low risk of maltreatment and the referral doesn't meet the statutory definition of abuse or neglect. However, it appears that the family is experiencing stressors and may benefit from community-based services. If agreeable, the family is referred for voluntary services, which may include a parent advocate assigned to help the family navigate available services, assistance connecting to services including shelter, food, clothing, transportation, childcare, and medical insurance, parenting education classes, tangible or auxiliary services to mitigate safety risk, such as minor household repairs, infant and baby supplies, or safety and hygiene products. Referral to Safe System of Care Services, where a family-centered, strength-based, coordinated plan can be developed with the family and their support team to prevent further system involvement. A Path 2 response occurs when there is a low to moderate risk of child maltreatment, and the referral meets the statutory definition of abuse or neglect. An emergency response social worker will investigate in person within the assigned time frame, dependent on risk factors. A Path 2 response includes all services available under the Community Response Program. Contact with the family by an emergency response social worker to further investigate the circumstances of the referral with the goal of creating safety for the child. Law enforcement may respond with child welfare for a joint investigation, if warranted. A Path 3 response occurs when there is high risk of child maltreatment, and factors are present that may place the child in imminent danger or harm. In this case, an emergency response social worker investigates in person as soon as possible and within 24 hours. If a referral is a Path 2 or Path 3 referral, an emergency response social worker will investigate and make a finding of either substantiated, unfounded, or inconclusive. If a referral is found to be unfounded or inconclusive, the referral is generally closed. If the referral is substantiated, the referral will move to the next phase. A referral will be determined unfounded if no evidence of child abuse is found and there is reason to believe child abuse did not occur. No harm to the child is found. Concern being investigated does not meet statutory definition of child abuse. A referral may be determined inconclusive if no evidence that child abuse actually occurred is found, but social worker has evidence there is a possibility abuse may have occurred. When a referral is substantiated, the child may remain at home, no case opened, with or without a safety plan. The child may remain at home with voluntary family maintenance, or VFM services. Because this is voluntary, parents must agree to participate. VFM provides short-term intensive services to stabilize and support the family. By doing so, the program aims to prevent the placement of the child in foster care and avoid formal court involvement. The child may remain at home with formal court involvement. The child becomes a dependent of the court, which assigns oversight and custody with social services. The parents continue to care for the child at home while participating in a court-ordered case plan. The child may be unable to safely remain at home and be placed in foster care. The child becomes a dependent of the court, which assigns oversight and custody with social services. The parents are generally offered family reunification, FR services, with the goal of the child returning home as soon as it is safe to do so. The parents participate in a court-ordered case plan. It is important to remember that social workers can only make a determination based on the evidence they find during the investigation. There are statutory regulations which guide what decision can be made based on the evidence available to the social worker. Mandated reporters can help social workers by providing as much information as possible. It is critical that reports be made as soon as the reporter has a concern, so that evidence and other information is still available for the social worker, and a safety assessment can be made as early as possible. Warrants are required both to interview children and to remove children from the care of their parents. These warrants must be issued by a judge during business hours. If the circumstances are so exigent as to require immediate removal to keep the child safe outside of business hours, law enforcement can facilitate this. If you have a concern for the immediate safety of a child, please call law enforcement. Law enforcement is trained to respond and will often ask a CWS social worker to respond with them. Law enforcement provides cross-reporting of all SCARs to CWS. As a mandated reporter, your report is kept confidential, but not anonymous. Mandated reporters are required by law to provide name and contact information when making a report. Non-mandated reporters are able to make an anonymous report, including mandated reporters who make a report when not working in their official capacity. If the child is placed in protective custody, they will be placed on an emergency basis with either a relative, an adult the child is familiar with, also known as a non-relative extended family member, a resource family, also known as a foster family, or a shelter home, short-term emergency care while one of the other plans is created. CWS notifies mandated reporters when the referral has been resolved. The mandated reporter will receive a form response, which includes whether the case was referred for investigation or evaluated out. If investigated, the letter will state whether the allegations were unfounded, the situation was stabilized, or the case was opened for services. CWS is only able to share a limited information due to confidentiality mandates. You do not need to be certain or provide proof that child abuse or neglect has occurred in order to make a report. If you have concerns about a child's safety, make a report. When in doubt, make a report. Intake social workers will talk you through the process and ask questions to clarify as needed. Most importantly, please remember that all referrals are valuable and enable a professional evaluation of safety for children and family circumstances. However, it's also important to understand what does not constitute abuse or neglect under California law. According to Assembly Bill 2085, economic disadvantage, such as a parent's inability to provide food, clothing, or shelter due to poverty, is not considered general neglect. Educators and other mandated reporters should recognize the crucial distinction between a family struggling financially and one where there is willful neglect. This law aims to ensure that families facing economic hardship are not mistakenly reported for neglect. If you notice that a family is struggling financially, and they need additional support with food, housing services, healthcare services, or other services, you can refer families to the 211 helpline. 211 is an easy-to-remember number for free information and referral to local health and human service programs via phone, text messaging, and an online tool. Help is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. To access help, call 211, text your zip code to 898-211, or visit the website 211slow.org. Your knowledge, action, and concern make a positive difference in the lives of children. Thank you for caring for the children in our community.